Everything was about youth culture these days. The entertainment industry wasn't catering just to teenagers anymore. Last year, Lamont had gone to a conference called Targeting Tweens with Bernie DeLuca, the advertising guru. Baby, you wouldn't catch me dead in no conference called Targeting Tweens. That's creepy to me. Targeting tweens, that's probably one of the most confusing errors. It's like you don't want to be a child no more. You want to be grown or a teenager so bad, so you're willing to do whatever it takes to get there, meaning have a boyfriend that's 16 or a girlfriend that's 16, put makeup on, wear big boy clothes, wear big girl clothes. You're willing to do whatever. The greatest example of targeting tweens would be them Olsen girls. He and Lamont were considering forming a company called Triple Large Advertising to market to the urban consumer. Lamont had thought the seminar was called Targeting Teens and had wondered why Verne even wanted to go, because wasn't that what they both did all day? Yeah. If somebody said to me, hey, we about to go to this conference called Targeting Tweens, I'm automatically thinking, oh, he made an error. You mean targeting teen? Because why are we trying to pay attention to preteens? It's gross. It's creepy. Nah, you won't catch me in there, because I'd be thinking To Catch a Predator will be running through the door. Lamont had thought the seminar was called Targeting Teens and had wondered why Verne even wanted to go, because wasn't that what they both did all day? But within the first few minutes, he got a crash course on this new demographic. They're 10 going on 16, not kids, not teens. They're tweens. Tweens, the keynote speaker said, looking like he wanted to bust out some pom-poms. Tweens have become one of the nation's most significant consumer groups. Huge amounts of music, television, movies, games, electronics, fashion, and food are being marketed in their direction, and they're buying. Spending by U.S. tweens will reach nearly $41 billion by 2005. Lamont left thinking, great, now I have to give a shit about what a 10-year-old thinks? The young ballers like Gambino and Damon Dash, the head of the Rockefeller record, clothing, vodka, film empire, always made a show of paying Lamont conspicuous respect, but somehow it felt more like disrespect to him. Meanwhile, they all bowed at the altar of Russell Simmons. They acted like the godfather of hip-hop had invented the whole shiz. Russell was a shrewd businessman, and he had retreated from the music scene years ago after selling his share of Def Jam Records for $100 million. Now he devoted more attention to his clothing line, Fat Farm, and every time Lamont ran into him, Russ was either going to or coming from a yoga class. Talk about queer. Lamont thought Russell's semi-retirement was a perfect opportunity to step into the Godfather's shell toes and lord over the industry. But the people whose opinions counted had been slow to come around. Lamont's eyes bore down on Gambino in his Allen Iverson jersey. It didn't matter if you were from Philadelphia or not. All the hip-hop kids rocked number 3 Sixers jersey because Iverson got down like them. AI's cornrows and the $300,000 worth of ice glittering around his neck, on his wrist, and in both lobes perfectly complemented his FU attitude. Gambino was a hip-hop kid as far as Lamont was concerned. He's a child, an amateur. Lamont reassured himself despite the fact that the Don was the multi-millionaire CEO of his own hip-hop conglomerate. Lamont tried to clear his mind. He knew he conducted those internal dialogues whenever he experienced a flash of self-doubt. The flashes had begun to come so frequently and unexpectedly that he felt like he was suffering from some form of early onset male menopause. He now noticed Daryl was also wearing an Iverson jersey that had been concealed under his jacket earlier. Lamont looked over the girl who Daryl was crowding in the corner and decided she had too much flab hanging over the waist of her jeans. She was simmy. I know you effing lying. Not when his gut probably hanging over more than hers. He'd let Daryl have her. Well, shit, what does that mean? He'd let Daryl have her. You know what? Pause. So we know that this Diddy trial is over. We're just waiting on sentencing. He only got convicted of 2 of the 5 counts that they had against him. Legalities. I mean, I'm telling you, baby, will get you in trouble and keep you out of trouble. The fact that they all signed them NDAs is what got Diddy out of those other 3 counts. So they couldn't catch him on RICO, even though they said, okay, yeah, we were doing these things for him, but they all signed NDAs. But anyway, what I find that is really creepy and weird about Diddy is that he never wants to get his own. He always wants to take somebody else's. And this person, Lamont, in this instance, is so puffy like that it's weird. You know, I know it's several characters put together, but the fact that he's saying, oh, Daryl could have her because she's a little chubby around the waist. I don't want her, you know. And we see that Lamont has the propensity to try and take a ninja's woman. He gets off on that. Remember that part in Scarface where Tony Montana seen the boss's 16-year-old girlfriend at the time coming down the glass elevator, and Tony Montana fell in love and was like, oh, I'm going to get that. It's like that's what he see every time he see another man's woman. Oh, I'm about to get that Michelle Pfeiffer. Enjoy yourself tonight, player, Lamont thought, because come tomorrow, it's ass-kicking time. Lamont unconsciously rubbed his gut under his brown cashmere sweater. He was beginning to hate those number 3 jerseys mocking him at every turn. He felt like Michael Jordan guarding Iverson. Once MVP, but now fearing one good crossover dribble would have everyone wondering why he couldn't just relinquish his throne gracefully and go play a round of golf. Gambino caught Lamont's eye and raised his bottle of Chris in salute. Lamont raised his bottle of spring water in return, but he didn't budge. There was an awkward moment until Gambino squeezed out of his booth, yanked the brim of his sideways turned Phillies cap, and headed in Lamont's direction. That's right, son, Lamont thought. Kiss my ring. He crazy. I'm not girl. The sweaty, middle-aged white man threw his basket full of items onto the conveyor belt. Looking at her name tag, he said, that's your real name? Mimi, she said cheerily, beginning to scan his items. That's me. For the first time in 3 years, she didn't mind idle chatter from male customers. Soon she'd be out of here. She had called Imani first thing this morning and was told that both Imani and Daryl were out of the office, but that they would call her back tomorrow. When she'd gone to work, she'd imagined the conversation she'd soon have with Herbie, Save Mart manager and first class ding dong. She had 2 words for him, see ya, but she decided it was better to speak to Imani or Daryl first before doing anything rash. It wasn't official yet. Sometimes I see people wearing name tags and think that girl doesn't look like a Diane or a Gwen, like they picked up any tag. The man rambled on, though she wasn't paying him much attention. She couldn't stop daydreaming about being solo. Maybe she could record some of her own songs instead of the mediocre material that Kenny had made them record for the demo. You ever feel like doing that? Doing what? She asked, pretending to be someone else. All the time, she said, thinking those days are over. She was going to be a signed recording artist, a solo artist. Goodbye, Toledo. Goodbye, Save Mart. And goodbye, Jerry. The man leaned closer and whispered, "You know I like the sisters." And goodbye to jackasses like you, she thought gleefully. Maybe I'll see you again sometime soon. The sweaty, sister-loving irritant said as he handed her a 20. She broke into a wide smile and replied, "Not around here, you won't." She got out of work early by faking an upset stomach and cruised around the mall. Everything looked different. When she saw couples holding hands, she didn't feel the slightest twinge of jealousy. She was going to have songs on the radio and videos on MTV, and Jamal was going to be sorry for what he'd done to her. And New York was a big city. She'd meet somebody better than Jamal in no time. Someone who was going to treat her right and adore her. Is Jamal her boyfriend that's down there playing college football in Atlanta? She went into a couple of stores, and instead of agonizing about making purchases like she usually did, she treated herself. 2 pairs of shoes at 9 West and 3, count them, 3 pairs of jeans at the Gap. She was worth it. Ciao. She only, ooh. And then instead of taking the bus home, she called a cab. Usually she did that only if she was working late at night. And even then, only if she couldn't get a ride from someone else at the store. She wondered what her mother would say. She hadn't told her about it because Angela got hysterical about everything good or bad. And if Jerry had gotten wind of it, he would have tied her up and taken her back to New York himself and tried to collect a finder's fee. She decided she'd wait and tell them once she knew for sure. That was her plan. But when the cab pulled up to her house, she realized something was definitely up. The limo parked out front tipped her off. She opened the front door and laid eyes on the oddest assemblage of people she'd ever seen. Imani was sitting at the kitchen table with Angela, who was holding a mug of coffee in an unsteady hand. Daryl was perched on the kitchen counter, tapping like mad on his 2-way. The guy they called Witchy, who had been at the audition, was reclining in the armchair, holding the TV remote control and talking on his cell. Bullshit the baker. Baby, it be bed bugs and roaches everywhere. I'm not sitting on nobody's upholstery. And I don't know these mother hoochies. You crazy? You been and took them Toledo bed bugs home with you? Answer no. At one end of the sofa was Jerry, who for once had the decency to be wearing jeans and a shirt with sleeves, instead of his usual grubby boxers and wife beaters. Lamont was huddled all the way at the other end, as if Jerry were covered in anthrax. Because Lamont, no, you bitches could have roaches and bed bugs. I don't want to sit in this chair. I would have, girl, if y'all would have been like, you can have a seat. No, I'm good over here, right here in the corner, close to the door. Nice place you've got here, Lamont said in greeting. Mimi cringed, having a blinding flashback to Lamont's luxurious digs. All the things she had stopped noticing about their ramshackle house came into sharp focus. The clanging radiator, the grease spot on the kitchen wall, the threadbare carpet under Lamont's polished black shoes. Mimi, why didn't you tell us? Angela wailed. They want you to sign a record deal. I was informed, Lamont said, that you're having some second thoughts. Lamont glanced crossly at Daryl, who seemed to be trying to hide behind the kitchen wall. Daryl passed the buck and slapped Imani with a murderous glare. That nosy bitch had to call Mimi when he told her not to. And of course, she'd then gone and snitched to Lamont. But we told him you're going to take it, Jerry chimed in. Who are you to tell them anything? Mimi snapped. She could already see his pupils turning into dollar signs. Ka-ching. All I could think about is Aaliyah and every other teenage entertainer that had been given to the industry with permission from her parents. Mimi is overage, but still her family, her step-pappy, is handing the little girl off. Get out of here, girl. It's money to be made. Go be with this man. They don't care nothing about that. Like, if I was a parent of a teen, whoa, we got to talk about some things. Hold the fuck on. She's 19, she can go. But just thinking about how easy it is for a stranger to come in and take your child because you see dollar signs. What kind of person? There's no way. Sometimes, you got to sign your rights over to someone. Like Mickey Howard told me that Augie, her baby father, because she was underage, had to obtain guardianship for her to travel with him. Your baby father is your guardian? Now I see how the Woody Allen shiz be happening. And Elon Musk's pappy did that nasty shit too. I'm telling you, the entertainment world is full of creeps. Angela was sitting silently at the kitchen table, afraid to make a peep in front of these people. When they'd rung her doorbell this afternoon, she hadn't known what was going on, but she tried to be hospitable. Once they'd explained the purpose of their visit, they tried to contact Mimi at work, but she had already left, and no one knew where she'd gone. To the Gap to buy 3 pair of jeans and 9 West to buy 2 pair of fucked up ass shoes. Lamont sat down, apparently to wait for Mimi's return, though he hadn't asked if he could stay. Then everyone else settled in because he had. Lamont didn't look like Angela imagined a rap person would. The only hip-hop person she really could identify was Puff Daddy. If the name P. Diddy had come up, she would have thought that was someone or something entirely different. And when she'd seen him on TV, he usually wore lots of gaudy jewelry and a shifty expression. See, I'm not the only person that look at him. Thick-thighed bastard, wide-hipped mother hoochie, them thick-ass hips, looking like he done had 3 pregnancies and 2 abortions. Lamont was wearing a fancy navy pinstripe suit with a crisp white shirt open at the neck and some beautiful jewelry, 1 diamond earring and lovely pinky ring. He seemed very nice, and his executive assistant was such a pleasant girl. Jerry had come home a while ago and been briefed. He confidently declared that this was a good deal Lamont was offering. Mimi should take it. Angela had no opinion of her own, but if Jerry said it was good, it must be. He'd been a used car salesman for more than 10 years. We brought the contracts, Lamont said to Mimi. Imani rushed over and put them on the coffee table. You can read it all in black and white right there. Lamont reassured her, we already showed them to your folks. Knowing damn well that the parents can't walk chew bubblegum, and that damn Shifty Jerry, the used car salesman, would sell the devil to the Jesus. The mammy is leaving it up to the man that ain't her father. This is how little girls get caught up in it. This is how little girls and boys get taken advantage of in the system. Because technically, the parents sell their children to the industry. Jerry is not my folks. That's all I'm saying. The fuck? Jerry is not my folks, Mimi said as she flipped through the papers. It was all in legal language that she couldn't decipher, and there must have been over 100 pages. Lamont was getting antsy, but tried not to show it. He'd expected to have things rolling by now. He wanted her in the studio singing on that Fat E record. He wanted the I's dotted and the T's crossed. Done. The mother, in Lamont's opinion, with her mango-dyed feathered hair and jowls that dropped like a basset hound, was stunningly unattractive. When she'd opened the door and he'd gotten a load of her, he'd struggled to hide his distaste. Pushing out cute little Mimi had obviously been her finest hour. The Haitian father must have been one attractive dude. That's dirty. And then this cat Jerry had shown up. He'd thought he only had to deal with the mother. He and Witchy had to back it up and roll out there she's going to be a big star stick all over again. Lamont restlessly twisted his white gold pinky ring. He'd decided platinum was played. It wasn't like he'd had any desire to fly to effing Toledo. He might have just sent Daryl, but after the mess Daryl had already made of this, he couldn't trust him. Neither was Witchy, a sure bet. So he decided to hop on a plane this morning and get it done himself. He made Daryl and Witchy come along as punishment. They were cramped in coach, seated side by side, which pissed them both off, while he and Imani luxuriated in first class. Lamont hadn't yelled at them. In fact, he hadn't said a word to them directly at all.